It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater, and welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I'm thrilled to be speaking with today Christina Vitagliano. She's from Providence, Rhode Island, currently living in Las Vegas. Christina is an author, entrepreneur, and the founder of the successful family entertainment concept, Monster Mini Golf. So those of you who've ever gone to Vegas, you might have actually been to a Monster Mini Golf. Christina, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And, so share with me a little bit, how did this whole idea get started? How do you decide to build a mini golf course and then create a theme around it? Like, do you wake up with the idea? Like, where does it get started?
Sort of, kind of. Well, originally it was, we're going on almost 20 years at Monster Mini Golf Open, which we started in 2004. Originally, I had written a memoir way back when, over 20 years ago. And when I got done, I needed to have the book edited. And I learned that it cost about $5,000 to have it edited. And at the time, we had no money, my husband and myself, and we were just, we were young. And I didn't want to take any of the money that I was earning and put that towards the book editing, because it seemed astronomical to me. So I said to my husband, what if I come up with something that will help me earn the $5,000, and then I can have a job that's not going to take up all my time, and I can then focus on, getting my memoir published. So I actually, at the time, and I laugh because this explains how old I am and how quick the internet has kind of aged. I Alta Vista'd what is the most profitable small business to own, and oddly enough, mini golf came up in the top 10 profitable small businesses back then.
Really?
Yeah. So again, we're going back, 17 years in the web world. So maybe there were only 10 things listed in the web. So anyway, so out of all the things that were listed, I look back now, out of all the things that were listed, that was the one thing on my list that I said, I think I might be able to pull this off with no money, because I didn't have any money, to build a business.
Right. You didn't have anything to invest. You were just looking to create some capital to get the book edited.
Yep. So that was what made sense to me. That's how mini golf came to be. People say, "Oh, you must love mini golf." No, it was a process of elimination, is what it was.
But what about the monster piece? Because there's Listen, I could go out. I enjoy playing mini golf. I did it with my kids when we were younger. I did it with myself when I was younger. I still have fun doing it if you're on a vacation or whatever. Look, there's a mini golf course. Buy it out by the beach, something, blah blah. And you go. And when I actually mentioned to my husband I was going to be talking to, I said, "Do you ever hear of Monster Mini Golf in Vegas?" Because of course I've been there.
Yeah.
So where'd the monster piece come from?
Well, we were at the time, my husband had an audio production company where you rent equipment to concerts and things like that. So we stored it in an old mill in Northeast Connecticut, Danielson, Connecticut. And I had just sold a mailing list. I used to have an antique auction house, and I sold my mailing list. So we had basically a big empty space, old dilapidated empty space. So that's what I had to work with. So I had space and I had a list from Alta Vista. So I said, I'm going to build. We were on our way home from New York City one weekend. And I said to him, I think I know what I want to do. I know how to raise the $5,000. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I want to build mini golf indoors. And he said, why? We live in New England. Right. What are you thinking? Yeah. I said, well, because I don't want to have to work only, 90 days a year and then hope it doesn't rain, because that's pretty much what you're relying on for mini golf outside, in New England anyway. And I want something that I can do year round. And he said, how are you going to do that indoors? I said, I don't know. I just have to make it fun. So Monsters came to be because when I looked at that space, there were a couple of things I could do with it. One, my background, I have some restaurant and retail management and nightclub management. I looked at it and I said, if I paint the whole thing black, all the bad things go away. You learn that in nightclub business.
Right.
And I said, so then how do I build a mini golf course? I'm not, I'm not a construction person. I'm not, an artist or anything like that. I said, but if I make it monsters, monsters are whatever come out of your head. So if I build a blobby thing, that's a monster, So I did. I just went to work and started researching. I mean, I learned how to build a mini golf course. It took me about 6 months. I made it black light fluorescent for that same reason is the mill was dilapidated and you paint it black.
And it hides everything.
Hides everything. That was really, a lot of this was just, it was more common sense than it was, hey, it was how do I get to that next step?
You know what? I think that there's a huge learning lesson there. Because so often people say, I'm going to invest in some fancy, that there's all these people, this thing, and then I can figure this out. And everybody's looking to invest and think so big or complicated. Yeah. And I know in a couple of recent conversations I've had, I said, I just, practical, bottom line practical. I've been a business owner for 20 some odd years, 25 years, plus, let's stop counting soon. But it's just practical. Here's a problem. Where are some potential solutions? What's the most logical thing to do right now? It's not the perfect answer. It's not the greatest answer. And the idea of, what, we have some dents in the walls. The floor is a little gross. It kind of warped, it might be cracked, black paint, you see nothing.
No.
And it's just practical actions you take. And I think there's great sensibilities there. So thanks for sharing that piece.
No problem. No problem.
So now jump forward. So you got one up and running.
One of the other reasons that we got one up and running. And we opened the first Monster Mini Golf on Memorial Day weekend in 2004. So most of the world, if you live in New England, Memorial Day weekend means go outside because that's what you've been cooped up for so long. But that's when you're ready to open. So that's when we opened. But my background, again, I had some background in marketing and I was marketing and teasing along the way in the local papers and things like that. So we opened our first Monster Mini Golf, on Memorial Day weekend. And our price point has always been, no matter what we do, it has to cost less than the movies. And one of the other reasons that I wanted to do something that was fun and entertaining for families was we lived in a small town and it was like an old mill town, not a lot of money for most families. But all I ever heard from the parents was movies are insanely expensive. You can't afford to go to the movies anymore. So when I was looking at things to build and things to do, I wanted to do something fun. I wanted to do something that was profitable, but it had to cost less than the movies. So again, mini golf fell into that. There were so many things that mini golf fell into back then.
It checked off a lot of categories.
Overhead. Yeah, I didn't want any overhead. So, somebody hands you a golf club pencil, we hand you a golf club pencil and paper, and you give us a golf club and the ball back. I mean, at the end of the day, you haven't.
It's a pen and it's a pencil. It's a mini pencil and paper.
Yeah. And now it's an app. So now we don't even have that. So there were a lot of things that happened. So we opened our first one then, and by the end of that summer, I wanted my little idea of raising $5,000 and working not a lot, and having some fun was half true. We were having a blast, but the place was busy and it was mobbed. And I remember it was a Sunday in August, and the Providence Journal had just written an article about us. And we were this little tiny town, maybe 30 minutes from Providence. And it was me and my friend working there. We were slammed and we looked up into that crowd and it was busy. And the parents were all talking to each other. And I got scared because all I heard was, this place is a gold mine. This place is a gold mine. And I got terrified that somebody was going to steal my idea. So then I went back online, the same thing. And my husband's name is Patrick. He says, what are you doing? I said, I don't know, but I'm afraid that somebody's going to steal this idea. And he said, well, why don't we open another one? I'm like, well, we could do that, but to go into the city, because if you want to open another one, you want to do bigger, better. I mean, you want to move on. We quickly learned that we weren't in the position to lease a building. You're spreading yourself even thinner. There's a lot of secrets about why we're as successful as we are. We have adults behind our counters and things like that. And I said, I don't know if I could pull it off a second time right away. We need to do something better. So I said, what if we franchised? And he said, how do you know how to franchise? I said, I don't know how to franchise. So you go back online, how do you franchise your business? And the only people that, I had ever heard of was Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's back then.
Exactly.
In my head, so I learned how to franchise a business. And it's been an interesting ride.
So, now how many, you have a couple of locations and you franchise a bunch.
Yeah. We
What
have
do the
30,
numbers look like?
yeah, we have about 30 monster mini golfs across the country. Almost all are franchised. And then we have 2 flagship locations that are company owned in Las Vegas, but they're licensed and co-branded, one with the rock group KISS, and then the other one through CBS, that's Twilight Zone. So, and those are company owned. Yep.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
And so what happened to the book? I gotta ask.
I know. So
did we ever get the $5,000?
No, no.
Wait a second. In your introduction, it's like Christina is an author and entrepreneur. It's like, well, hold on. What did we write? Did we write? Did it get edited? What happened?
Oh man, I said, hey, I want to do something that's not going to take up a lot of time, and then it took up the next 17 years of my life, and then some. But you're in it. When you're in it, you have to be in it, especially if you're in it with franchising. You go from this little tiny, I would call it a mom and pop kind of business, which is what we started, to you're a corporation, whether you want to be or not, but you're responsible. You become a parent and you're responsible for those franchisees in so many ways. And the weight that's on your shoulders every day is completely insane. But, a lot of choices, like everything else in life, you make choices along the way. And our goal was make sure that these people are successful. And that's not easy. And I don't care who you are. It's not easy.
It's not easy because you might have the formula.
Mm.
You have the formula for a successful monster mini golf, but the people who are buying doesn't mean they have the all those wonderful characteristics and traits and ethics and integrity and and follow through in a business.
Oh yeah.
So there has to be some challenges there.
Yeah.
So what has surprised you during this journey? As you didn't exactly, you went into this to create $5,000 to have a book, to have your memoir edited. And you ended up owning a corporation with 30 mini golfs across the country, being an owner of learning how to own a franchise a business, then become the parent to all the franchisees.
Mm-hmm.
What has surprised you?
Wow. You said, what have you learned? I don't even know where to begin. I will say that, a couple of things. I've surprised myself because what I thought I was in for and what I thought I could handle, or what I thought I didn't know, all of those things are at those first, I would say in franchising, you say 3 to 5 years, and that's a lie. It's like 3 to 10 before you really know what you're doing. If you're staying on track morally and ethically, because you can follow a different thing and everything's, I don't know, different way of franchising. But you learn a lot about adults and their behaviors. It's mind-boggling, the reasoning and how people can justify things, and then how others are the exact opposite. In franchising, I compare it to 2 things. One, it's like we have perpetual and I love them. So this isn't, I'm not knocking them in any means, but it's like having perpetual teenagers for the rest of your life. And then also it's kind of like marriage that you can't get divorced from. And you're married to a lot of people all the time, and you have to know all of their personalities all the time. And you have to also hope they're all happy all the time. It's fun.
It's fun. So where's your vision? What's next for Monster Mini Golf, and then what's next for Christina?
We at almost 20 years old, I would say, hey, we got it. We understand it now. We're doing well. Our franchisees, we have a tight group of people. I'm very happy and they're fantastic. So we're in the position where we can go from the 30 stores we have. And I feel confident enough now, and I feel okay with, okay, now it's time to really grow and expand and do some interesting things with Monster Mini Golf. And on the flip side, we've got a great team below us, which that takes time too, to develop that team. So it allows me to do other things. And during the pandemic, I finally published my book. So yay.
Woo, congratulations.
Yay. So that gave me some downtime to, I got that done. So it's just, I think how I got connected to you actually is through the book, even though it's, business. So I've been, I want to do some public speaking on that as well.
So share a little bit about the book, because this has been a long journey to having this happen.
Yeah. I wrote it about 20 years ago. So I've had 20 years of experience since then, which I think was good. I think I'm glad that I waited. But my book it's based on my childhood, and it spans 30 years. It ends when I'm about 30. And it just kind of takes you through the journey of a child. I've come from a very abusive background, large family. I had been in 14 schools by the time we graduated. My parents aren't from the military. They just always thought the grass was greener. So I've learned a lot over the years. You learn a lot about yourself, and you learn that you have an option to make choices, and you either become a victim or you become, and I don't like the word survivor, because when you come from an abusive background, you don't survive it. You've never survived it. You just learn to overcome it and deal with it. So you learn to deal with it, overcome it, and actually in some ways, you've learned things that other people never had a chance to learn or experience. And I use those every day. Nobody should ever have to experience those,
right. You acquired skill sets, right? You acquired skill sets, not the way you chose to acquire those skill sets by any means, but you did end up acquiring skill sets that have become part of your leadership model as a businesswoman. Yeah,
perception of, you as a child, when you're in a horrible environment, you become very perceptive of what's going on around you, because that's what you need to do to survive. And I assumed that everybody had that when I was growing up. And then when I became an adult, and even now in my 50s, I'm like, holy cow, I didn't know that everybody didn't know all of these things all the time. And not that I'm smart, I'm talking about perception. I can you walk into a room and you know what's going on because you've trained yourself for years to do that. Different.
So, yeah, totally different. And nothing that is a wonderful thing to experience, but I give you an enormous amount of credit for being able to see and honor the skills that you acquired as a young girl, and then take them forward to benefit yourself in your life.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, you've met some interesting people.
I have.
So share with our listeners today how they could learn more about you, check out your book, check out Monster Mini Golf, follow you as a businesswoman.
Monster Mini Golf is very easy. It's monsterminigolf.com. Super easy. If you're interested in franchising, you just click on how to own a franchise. And you are actually speaking to me. I still speak. I'm the first person that you do speak to. So, and I like that still. And then if you're interested in the book itself, that's also very easy. It is 123 Christina V. That's my website. And you can find me on every social media platform at 123 Christina V. Very easy.
On her success story.
Thanks. And the title of the book is Every 9 Minutes. I don't know if we even mentioned that. So yes.
Oh, yes. Every 9 minutes. Yep. Listeners, you want to check it out. You want to check out Christina V, and you want to check out Monster Mini Golf. There's a lot to be learned from Christina. Today was just the tip of the iceberg. And remember, listeners, what I say at the end of every Her Success Story, we appreciate you tuning in to listen. Now that you've taken the time to do that, take that moment and to put in the notes what exactly you took away from today's call and what you're going to implement about it. So I always say it's great that we always listen to great things, and I appreciate you tuning into Her Success Story. The biggest thing is about action moving forward. So what did you take away from today? Feel free to share that below. And then what are those intentions that you're going to create with it? Remember to hit subscribe. We come into your podcast apps every Monday morning with new exciting episodes filled with content and great interviews like today with Christina. Thank you for joining us.